What is a GEDCOM file and why should I care? Today on the Genealogy Software Showcase. Hello friends, my name is Ed Thompson and I'm the host of the Genealogy Software Showcase. I wanted to say thank you to all of you who attended our premiere episode last week. I actually had a lot of fun, and as long as it's fun, it helps this keep going. So if you liked last week's episode, be sure to like it in YouTube, and feel free to subscribe either to our newsletter or to our YouTube channel. So a GEDCOM file. What is a GEDCOM and why should we care? Well, GEDCOM, we'll see in a few moments, is just a file format. It's a way of exporting genealogy data in a common format that other programs can read. And in a moment, you'll see why it became the common format, and you'll actually get a feel for what it is. What we're going to do today is I'm going to look at 6 of the best tree building software programs out there. And for each one of them, we're going to import a GEDCOM file. Now, the GEDCOM that we're going to import is my own family tree from Ancestry.com. So it has a couple thousand people in it. It has a lot of events and sources and everything else. And we'll see how each of the 6 programs handle the GEDCOM import, as well as show you how to do one. So I've got a short video here, and I promise you, if you were here last week and we did all those short videos, this one really is short. And then we're going to do something different from what we did last week. I'm going to do all of the demonstrations of importing a GEDCOM live. And the reason I'm doing that is because I recorded all 6 programs importing a GEDCOM file with my comments and color commentary. And when I went back to review it, I realized I had forgotten to turn on my microphone. So, with no further ado, I'm going to introduce this video and let you get a feel for what a GEDCOM is, and then we'll see how each program handles a GEDCOM import. So let's talk GEDCOM. GEDCOM is the de facto standard for transferring data between genealogy programs. Now, what does de facto mean? De facto means that it's not like somebody has mandated it and all programs have to abide by that. It's simply that because it was established by the LDS Church as kind of an authority, that if you wanted to transfer data with the LDS Church, you had to use this format. Almost all of the genealogy programs supported it. And since almost all the genealogy programs supported it, it de facto became a standard. If we take a look at the GEDCOM entry in Wikipedia, it says that GEDCOM is an acronym standing for Genealogical Data Communication. And it acknowledges that it was developed by the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints as an aid to genealogy research. As we'll see in just a minute, the GEDCOM is just a text file, and it's supported in either UTF-8 or ASCII format. ASCII is an older format for sharing text. UTF-8 is always the better option, especially if you have foreign characters with the little ellipses or whatever that character is over different vowels, because UTF will support that, ASCII does not. If we scroll down a little bit, the Wikipedia page actually shows us that the GEDCOM was first established, version 1.0 in 1984, as a data transfer format. It goes through the various iterations and down to version 5.5, which was established in January of 1996. And that is pretty much the standard. So that's kind of the history of the GEDCOM format. Now, if you want to see what a GEDCOM looks like, I've opened up mine in Notepad, and you see here that it's just a text file. If I go back to the Wikipedia page, though, they've got an entry here on the side, a sample GED. And just the one thing to help you read it is every line that starts with a 0 starts a new record. So the first line is 0 and then head. That means it's a header record, and there will be one of those. If I go down here, you'll see that there's a 0 record. That's the beginning of an individual, INDI. And this is individual with an ID of I1. Go down further and I see in second individual. I go down further, I see a third individual. And then I go down further, now I see a family. You'll see the FAM, and it's family F1. And it tells me here that the husband is individual I1, the wife is individual I2, that there is a marriage event, and that there is a child from that marriage that's I3. So it's a very simple format for transferring data, and as I said before, all main genealogy programs will support it in one way or another. Now what I'd like to do next is show you how to simply export a file from Ancestry.com and then MyHeritage.com in GEDCOM format, so that if you've already started building your tree on one of those two websites, you can download it and import it into your favorite desktop genealogy software. So I'm here on Ancestry.com, and I'm going to go to Trees, Create and Manage Trees. You see here's a list of various trees that I'm working with. I'm going to go over here and select my main tree, Edward Thompson Family, and select Manage Tree. And if I scroll all the way down here to the bottom, I can download a GEDCOM file. So I'm going to click on Download. And here, sometimes it will take a little while for it to build the GEDCOM file, and then the button will change to download your GEDCOM file, and I click it, and I will simply save it to my local hard drive. On MyHeritage, the process for downloading your data in a GEDCOM file is very similar. I'm going to go here to the Family Tree tab and go down to Manage Trees. And then here I've only got one tree on MyHeritage. Over here on the right hand side, I'm going to select Export to GEDCOM. And you see here, it gives me the option to export personal photos, export family tree photo album. Now, the GEDCOM file itself does not support inclusion of image data. There was a draft at one point that supported that, but really it made the files much too large. And in 5.5 or 5.1, they took that feature out. And that's why a lot of times when you sync up a program using a GEDCOM file, you're not going to get your photos. Now that doesn't mean that a program like MyHeritage won't give you the option of downloading the photos at the same time that it creates a GEDCOM file, but they'll just go into a separate directory. So I'm going to unselect those options and begin the export. And it tells me the GEDCOM file is being generated now, that this takes a few minutes. If I go to my mail, you see here I have a notification from MyHeritage, and I can download the file from here, and I can give it a more meaningful name, MyHeritage 2020, and here I'm recording it on the 16th of November, and I can save it. And there you have it. I have a GEDCOM ready to import into my favorite desktop genealogy software. Is that better? Hopefully it is. I forgot to bring a microphone into this. So I'm going to give it a second and see if the audio is okay now. Hopefully it is. Okay. Something's going to go wrong every single time. So what I started to say was that's the last of the pre-recorded content. I just wanted to give you a taste of what the GEDCOM file was. And since the purpose of a showcase is to showcase software, I wanted to jump right in. Now, I'm not going to be able to respond to comments as quickly as I was when there was pre-recorded content, but I'll try and take a pause between each program. I'm going to try and keep the time down to about 3 minutes per program because we don't have to dwell too much on it. But the first one I want to start with is, just to shake things up a bit, I'm going to start with Legacy 9, and let me see if I make that a little bit bigger. So I've got all 6 programs up right now, and seems to make Legacy a little sluggish. Now, what you need to do if you don't want to import a GEDCOM file into your current databases, create a new database. So I'm going to go up here to New File. Oh, yeah, there we go. To New File. And I'm going to choose this option down here, Import from Another Program. And it's going to give me several different formats. Ancestral Quest or Path being the standard one. But obviously, different program, Legacy, accepts a GEDCOM. So that's what I've got selected now. I know where the file is stored on my computer, hopefully. So I'm going to select that option. And it is in, let's see, my Dropbox folder. I thought it was in my under. Yep. Is it under my Dropbox folder? Oh, no, my downloads folder. I knew where it was like half an hour ago. Okay, here it is. It's under my Roots Media folder. And this is the file that I downloaded. I guess I downloaded on Monday. And selected the file. Now Legacy is asking me for a name for the file. So it's the new database. And I'm just going to go with the default. And it should pop up here. Okay, it popped up on the other screen. Let me drag this over so you can see it. And it has read in the file to get a feel for what's in it first. So if you look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that this particular file has 3,173 individuals in it, and that's correct. And you'll see that that's consistent with other programs that we're going to be working with. It has 886 families, so relationships between the 3,000 people, and it has 627 sources. So if I want to import it, now at this point I can pull in some information about where the GEDCOM came from and actually treat the GEDCOM as a source. And you'll see that most of these programs are going to do the same thing. I'm going to skip that step because I'm more interested in the sources within the file than I am treating the GEDCOM as a source. But that's not a bad thing to do. And I'm going to start the import. Now, as it's importing, something may pop up on the other screen, and I'll try and get it back to the screen I'm recording as quickly as possible. Under From, you see it actually identified it was from Ancestry.com. And here we have status. It imported 3,173, 886 families, 627 sources. It counted the citation as 15,128. It also included 477 media links. However, I did not download the media files, so that's a topic for another day. And 2,615 events, births, deaths, marriages, etc. And I will tell you that that's accurate. That's what's in that file. So Legacy did a fairly good job of being able to talk to talk with all the GEDCOM data that was in there. Now, it says some information was not recognized, and it wants to know if I want to view the error log. I do. I like to see what it had trouble with. And we're not going to look at all of this. The first one is it had trouble reading some comment data that it thought was put in the gender or sex field, as it's called in the GEDCOM, for my wife. And that data really has nothing to do with her sex, so I don't care about that. That was consistent with a lot of things. So I'm not too worried. And let's see, does it? Yeah. So that is some data that's going to be lost, but I really don't care about that specific data. But you need to be aware that when you do a GEDCOM import from one program to another, there is high likelihood you're going to lose some data. It may or may not be data that you care about. And so you always want to look for one of these logs after you've done an import to see what data it skipped. Now, there was a couple more at the end. Yeah, so the individual shown on the right in a marriage has a gender male. That's just a warning it's giving me. I must have put the male on the wrong side as far as this is concerned. I don't care about that. That doesn't matter to me, but did a fairly good job of importing all of the data. And the one thing I will look at, I'm not going to look at every single piece of data, obviously, because I wanted to. We want to go on to the other programs. I am going to try and pull up a list of sources to see what that list looks like. And let's see, can I do that from here? Master lists. I go view, master list, source. Yeah, so here you can see some various source records and what they look like. Source records are some of the messiest ones to import. And the reason is that none of the programs, and I can almost say that with 100% accuracy, none of the programs export sources in the exact same way. And the GEDCOM file is very poorly designed for source citations. So, and again, that will be a discussion for another day as well. But you can see here, it did. I have some of my sources that has HTML formatting in it. It just treats that as text, so that's something I would want to clean up after the fact. But in its source list, it says 590. Now, we know it was 886. So it must have merged, auto-merged, and it will do that, auto-merge duplicate source records as it did the import. So, quick check over to the comments. Lewis says, that's not a very good source individual ratio. Would have expected more evidentia from you. Haha, very funny. I have not used evidentia with my ancestry tree. So, yeah, caught me. Right now, this particular database in Ancestry is kind of like my fishing database. I'm fishing for cousins, and it's where I collect things to be verified. Those appear to be, Lewis also points out, those appear to be sources associated with the sex. I looked at the data, and Legacy 9 did accept the gender. It's just it would interpret it as comments in those fields it didn't know what to do with, and that's what it was telling me. And then Jan says, it's easy if you're using Ancestry's online tree to attach a marriage record backwards. Not sure about my heritage because I don't attach stuff to a tree there. And I will say this, whatever your preference is, I tend to treat spouses as spouses, and have gotten away myself from the husband and wife labels that is a more modern way of looking at things. For that reason, I also don't always put things in the quote right order. Okay, so that is legacy, and in case there are more questions, I'm just going to minimize that. Since Jan commented, let me do family historian second. So family historian, I'm going to want to start a new database again, or a new project, and I'm going to import, let's see here, what's the best way to do it? I guess I need to start a new project first, and it allows me to import a GEDCOM as part of starting a new project. Whereas that GEDCOM file, hopefully I can find that a little bit faster. Actually, it knows where it is because I test drove this yesterday. And there's an option here, copy any linked multimedia files into the new project folder. Now, if I had downloaded multimedia files, I would have given this a spin. And probably this does deserve a session all on its own. So I'm going to unlink that now just because it's not relevant and say next. New project name, do I want to make it the default? No, not really, but who cares? And finish. Okay. It read the file quickly and it says the imported data contains 361 links to external data files. Now the other one said there were 400 and something. It says 361 of those are broken. I know I didn't download the media files, blah, blah, blah. Would I like Family Historian to search now for the missing files and repair broken links where possible? No, I don't care about that. And here is my family tree. Now, it has not given me the option, to make sure it's not on another screen, to view a log of what was and what was not successful. And some of the programs don't do that, which is a shame. And some of the, here we go. This one hid it under log files under the Windows directory. And there were no log files. So as far as Family Historian is concerned, it imported everything. Let's do a quick check of that. Let's see, where can I find lists for this? Records lists, individuals. And does it give me a count of individuals here? Yeah, here we go. Down here in the lower left-hand corner. Can you see that, or is my head in the way? Let me move that over just a little bit. You see here, it recognized 3,173 individuals and 886 families. Jan says, I always get the pop-up about what needs to be validated. I don't think it needed to validate anything, Jan. It seems to have done a pretty good job. Sources, again, I'm not getting a source count here. Repositories, 4 I happen to know is the right number of repositories. Media, it did bring in the links without asking me if I wanted to. It just can't link them to the real files because I did not download those files. So all in all, and places. Okay, all in all, Family Historian did a pretty excellent job actually of importing data into a GEDCOM file, and then I could go on and work with that file within Family Historian. All right, next let's bring in a new one. So I've opted, instead of doing Reunion, which I did last week, I'm introducing a new program to the showcase, Ancestral Quest. And Ancestral Quest is one of the earliest Windows type programs for tree building, and we are looking at version 16, which is the latest version. Now, you do require a license to use Ancestral Quest. If you don't have a license, it puts you into basic mode. That's not a problem for, I don't think it's a problem for what we're going to be trying to do today. And let me bring over the little pop-up that came here as well. Oh, actually, this is weird because is it 2 windows here it's doing? I'm going to close a window And I hope it doesn't take everything down. Okay, so let me cancel that. There is a the rest of this window here. So it's actually broken the windows out. And what I'm going to do is File, New, and give it a name. ABC. I don't care what the name is right now. I'm going to create that. Okay. I'm going to close the other one. And let's see where I import a GEDCOM from. Go down here. Usually it's under the file menu somewhere. Import. And it is assuming GED. What other? Yeah. It's assuming a GEDCOM. So I'm going to select the same one. Okay. So add a source to all individuals and marriages about it being the GEDCOM. Include listing file data and notes. Don't care about that. Do I want to import notes? Yes. Scrapbook items? No. Research to do items? No. Reuse deleted records? I have no idea what that means, and I did not have a chance to look it up. But I assume that it's if you have a deleted record in your database already, and the GEDCOM references that record, it may undelete that, or it may restore it instead of creating a new one. And custom conversion of place names. Handling of place names is another option several of the programs offer, and it's such that I might have Boston, Massachusetts, and it may want to expand that to Boston, Suffolk County, Massachusetts, United States of America, and that may be real desirable. So, but I'm not going to worry about that. So we'll just do an import. Okay, now it's downloaded 127 and then it's paused. Ancestral Quest has detected all capital names in my GEDCOM file. And I talked about that last week. In a lot of older programs, putting the surname in all caps was a standard. Now, most programs leave it to your discretion. I personally don't like it that way, so I'm going to let Ancestral Quest correct it and put it in mixed case. You don't have to if that's what you prefer. That's fine. Okay, you currently have a setting to automatically merge citations. This import has added a large number of citations. This could take a long time. Are you sure you want to merge duplicate citations now? I'm going to say no, because I don't know exactly how much time it will take. And the pop-up indicates that it imported 3,173 individuals and 886 marriages. Before it said 880, another program said 886 relationships. It chooses to identify them as marriages, which probably means it was marriages. Any warnings and errors incurred during the import process have been placed in a separate listing file. Hopefully we can get access to that pretty quickly. And if you select the option to include these in notes, some of these will have been placed in the notes of the individuals imported. To me, that's a handy option. Remember the first program, was it Legacy? Legacy 9. I had that file where for gender, for instance, it was treating something as a comment and didn't know what to do with that comment format. Some of these programs, and this one included, Ancestral Quest, will put it in a note tied to that individual. And I think that's better than a separate file. Okay. And this is the pop-up of the log. They give you a nice summary at the top. 3173, yep. 886, yep. 627, yep. And 4 repositories, yep. And it tells me that I had 123 errors. Now, it had a slightly different problem in that, so the very first error, text string truncated. The original string, let me see how far out this will go and still show up on the screen. Yeah, it's not going to wrap. If I scroll over here, you'll see that there's some sort of article identifying field here, and it ends in 0.3266, and that was too many characters for the database field that Ancestral Quest is storing this in, and so they lopped off. They put 326, and they just lopped off what was at the end of the field. So I don't care about that, but that's something to keep in mind. Some of the older programs may have database fields where they store the data in less generous database definitions. So I had a lot of truncation. Looks like mostly from mynewspaper.com. Here's one: unexpected tag source in an individual record. Why would that be? So here, and this is from my mother-in-law, there was a source record included at the highest level, which is the individual level. If you remember in the video, let me see if I got that up. I may. No. You have an INDI record, and that is everything for that individual. And you can reference sources at that highest level, or you can embed them within the individual record. And in this case, something got embedded at some point in time. This particular database, by the way, comes from a GEDCOM that I started in 1995 in Family Origins. And then I imported it into Family Tree Maker when Broderbund owned it. And then I don't remember if I started all over again with RootsMagic or if I imported it and just cleaned up. So I may have some junk along the way that got imported into Family Tree Maker. Let's see, anything else. It wasn't expecting the title form or file. Those are probably newer fields. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm not. It's having trouble with, and it's ignoring those fields. I don't have a real issue with that. Let me go down to the bottom, and here it's letting me know for each one that it could not determine the sex of individuals. I don't know why it's warning me about that. There's nothing I can do about it here, and it's not the fault of the import. So it's giving me a little unnecessary information. But let's see. Anything else here? No. A lot of truncated strings from Ancestry.com. Okay. So that's how Ancestral Quest handles an import. All in all, did a good job. You now can see that some of these programs handle records that they don't recognize differently. The Ancestral Quest truncated long fields. Other databases haven't complained about long fields. It'd be interesting to see if they just didn't warn us, or if they handled them just fine by having a slightly larger database, which is, I assume, what they did. So let's see what questions we have. Jan's offering some insight into Family Historian. So if you want to know more about Family Historian, you're a big fan of Family Historian, Jan. I know. You're going to be my little parrot on my shoulder, making sure I plug Family Historian at every point I get, and that's fine. Looks like it was one character too long difference between 255 and 256, and then Lewis was commenting, I think, on my GEDCOM hopping from one database to another. That's a genealogy of my genealogy, and that's true. All right, so our next program, let's see. Let's try Heredis. Oh, I already had it open, and it opened another one. Let me kill that there. It's interesting that it opened another copy. Okay. Now, Heredis is going to allow me right off of the front page open a GEDCOM file. So that's handy. And I need to go back to the directory I stored it in, which is in Dropbox. Roots Media, that's right. I created a shortcut for it. It asked me what name to give the file. I'm fine with where it wants to put it for now. It says the file already exists, do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. All right, and it is asking, does it want me to import media files? And does it want me to import sources? Now, I do want it to import sources. Media files, not so much. I think I'm going to do it this time, just see what happens though. And then process given name in quotes. So sometimes the given name, Edward, it might be Edward, quote, Ed, unquote, and then my surname. So it's asking me how it wants to treat names that are in quotes. And it can treat it as the usual given name, or it can treat it as a nickname. I'm going to pick nickname because most of the time I've seen it in quotes. That's why. But that's something you need to be cognizant of. How was that particular GEDCOM exported? All right, and then how do I want to handle places? I'm just going to go with what it's going to do automatically because I didn't play with that in depth. And it has recognized 4 GEDCOM tags it does not recognize and wants to know what I want to do with it. Now, we talked before about the fact that some vendors create custom fields in their GEDCOM file. And that's not a bad thing. But this is an example of either well, I can tell you that the APID field is a field that Ancestry added. Underscore milt, underscore death cause, and alias, although I think it's underscore alias, may have been Ancestry, or it may have been another program before I imported that into Ancestry. So I have the choice of leaving them out or importing them. I'm going to go ahead and import them, but it may look a little weird. So, and do I want to assign a new source at the GEDCOM level? And no, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to select Done. Now, this was a little bit troubling to me. If you look at the total person count that it thinks it's going to import, it has 3,172. That means somebody's missing. It has 886 relationships and has 661, not 667, sources. Again, that means that there are 6 sources that it couldn't read that are missing. My genealogy file contains media. Do I wish to locate that media? Again, I'm going to say no because I know it's not there. And we jump right into the program. Now, if you look at the bottom, and this is what's weird, if you look at the very bottom on the right-hand side, it recognizes 3,173 people. It's not missing anybody. It recognizes 785 families, which is interesting because it knew there were 886. So it probably differentiated things like, well, I don't know what other relationships it referenced. 650 surnames. These are just, they're not things you have to know, but some people like those kind of stats. 568 sources. So where did the rest of my sources go? So a little troubling that I don't, well, let's see. Do I have a file I can look at so it can tell me what it was and was not able to do? And this is the program when I was playing with it yesterday. I could not find a place where I could go to view a log file of what did and did work for the statistics. I did find statistics, and it has some pretty graphs, but in terms of how it handled the GEDCOM file, it did not give me any information. Let's see, file information. Again, it has the right number of individuals, has events, baptisms, blah, blah, blah. Media and notes in the sources. Total number of surnames, not important to me. Media, 361. I think that's shy a few. So yeah, there was no place where I could go to find out what data I lost. So that bothers me a little bit. But I want to look at one other thing. I want to look at a particular person who should have a military record, and I wanted to see how it handled that underscore MILT. And it's my great-grandfather, great-great-great-great-grandfather. And okay, so here it did not map the underscore MILT to something else, but it did treat it as an event. And in my opinion, that's one of two correct ways to do this. It could have just stuck it in a note. A little less handy. Here it's more obvious as well as simple for me to make a change. So it just treated it like a custom event, which the GEDCOM supports, custom events. So that is good. I like that. Okay, so that is Heredis. How are we doing for time? We're doing good. 2 more to go. Let me do Family Tree Maker next. Now, I started by closing the file that I had previously because I wanted to start with a clean slate. And over here on the left-hand side, now, yes, I could download a tree directory from Ancestral, and that's one of the features that everyone loves about Family Tree Maker. But I'm not testing direct downloads here. I'm testing GEDCOM. So I'm going to import an existing tree. And here it is showing me it can do it from version 5, from path, from legacy family tree, or it assumes it's a GEDCOM. And it doesn't even ask me to pick one. It's going to know based on what's inside the program which one it is. And let me take a moment to show you why that is. This is a sidebar. So I'm going to pull up my GEDCOM file, the one that I've been importing over and over again, and I'm going to edit it and open it up in Notepad. And I don't need it that wide. So remember from the video that each record starts with a line 0. So all of this is one record with sub-elements, and it's a header record. And the valuable thing that it does is it lets you know in the second row which character set it's using, UTF-8, UTF-16, ASCII, what have you. Also, what version. Now here it is, that should be, here's the version S of the GEDCOM. So it's 5.5, which means it's not 5.51, as well as the source, which is Ancestry.com family trees. The corporation is Ancestry.com. So if this was exported from RootsMagic or exported from Legacy 9 or any other program, that would be identified here. If you look at the ones that the Evidentia exports, Evidentia will be identified in this header as the source of that. Lewis is saying UTF-8 wasn't allowed in 5.5. I've seen a lot of different character formats in GEDCOM 5.5 files. Now, it could be that this is really a 551 and that Ancestry is just being a little sloppy in identifying the version. It could also be that a lot of programs went ahead and supported UTF-8. The difference between ASCII and UTF-8 is, at the very basics, is the ability to handle foreign characters. So if you've got anyone who wasn't British or Irish or from the UK in your family tree and need one of those special characters, you definitely want to export it in UTF. All right, so that's how it's going to know it's importing from Ancestry, and it's going to know from the file format that, hey, this is a GEDCOM. So let's find it and import a name. Now it was, I was going to say it was a little slower. It actually crashed. Didn't do that to me yesterday. I'm going to close a few of the other programs that I have open. But that did not happen yesterday, so some sort of bug. Family Tree Maker was not properly closed. Blah, blah, blah. One of the things Family Tree Maker does that I find annoying, any program who does this, I find annoying in Windows. It opens in full screen. So it consumes my entire screen, which I actually think is rather intrusive. I don't care about backing anything up. So let's try this again. So I know I said in the first episode I'm not trying to judge these programs and find the program that works best for you. It doesn't mean I don't have an opinion that'll slip out every once in a while. Nor would that have kept me from making this my top program. Now if it crashes again. Now Family Tree Maker in my test was one of the slower programs in importing a GEDCOM file. Not so slow that you see it's done. And in human time, do I care if it takes an extra minute? Well, I probably do, but that's on me, not on them. All right, so 3,173 individuals, 886 families. It's reporting sources differently. And you see here, it thinks there's 5,629 sources. Now, if you remember from all the other programs, there were 667 sources in the file. So I'm not sure what's going on here. And I need to reach out to Russ Worthington. He would be able to identify that for me about what is it actually counting here. Now, I would say it's counting citations, but the first Legacy 9 said there were 15,000 citations. So, Jen says, is it splitting instead of lumping? It could be. We'll look at a couple of examples, see if we can figure that out in just a moment. I'm going to close it. Just out of curiosity, since we did it last time, let me see how it handles the _ military field. It didn't warn us about it. Let's see. Yeah, see, it was able... It knew that some programs are using _MILT to mean military and just mapped it, which is the other best way to go, I think. Leave it as is, but put it here, or map it to what you know it is. And so I think that's a good thing. Now, if we look over here at sources, did it split them? It's got some duplicates here. These are the same. These are the same. So let's look at the source list here real quick. Now it's going to throw a different number at me. It has identified 627 source groups. What's a source group? Well, let's see what we've got here. Yeah, so it's done something interesting here. And I suspect this happened because of field splits. So it's got this one source that, if we look at the title, yeah, it's not handling the HTML characters. Let's pick this one instead. So the source title, if you wonder why I'm bowing my head, I'm trying to look under my microphone. Okay, so this one has a space, 2 space 77, and this one has a 277. So these are more like, yeah, these are more like citations, what I consider citations, than they are sources. List by source title. Can list it by person. That's pretty handy. Yeah, so I'm not. Yeah. So I'm not sure it really lost any data. It's obviously counting the records differently. It's just a little confusing about how it broke things up differently. Now let's look for. Let's see if it's got a log somewhere that we can look at for the import. Nope. 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 No. So again, I don't have any insight. The program's not providing me any insight to what might have gotten lost. If anything, maybe nothing got lost. Just the program's not telling me. So keep that in mind. All right. Where did the HTML come from? Good question, Robin. It came from me. So probably in that case, it came from Evidentia. So Evidentia allows you to do some formatting of your source citations, but the older versions didn't clean that up when it exported it to a GEDCOM file. The current version, I think, does. But yeah, so the formatting, it either came from me or it came from Broderbund. If I remember correctly, they also tried to do some weird formatting, and some of that may carry over. So again, a lot of these programs will export data in ways that they would recognize it without regard to how other programs may or may not recognize the same thing. Louis Kessler says, I bet the large number was the number of citations. That was at 5,000. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Louis, but Legacy 9 said there were 15,000. So, hey, Jan, stop hitting on us developers. If you didn't have developers, you wouldn't have developments. Okay, let's go on to our last program, RootsMagic. And I already have that open. And it opened in the wrong window as well. Okay, enlarge that just a little bit. All right, so we're going to go to File, Import, and here it has a wide variety of different database formats that it can import. I'll select GEDCOM because that's what we're about today, and I know where the file is. It wants to know what name I want to give to the file. I'm just going to say ABC. I'll throw it away later. Do I want to display surnames in uppercase? So it's asking me for default options for the RootsMagic database, not necessarily for information about how it's going to import data from the GEDCOM. And those options include, what do I want my date format to be? What number, if any, do I want to display after the name? Do I want to display my surnames in uppercase? Do I want LDS support? Do I want family search, family tree support? And do I want to enable web hints? We saw the same options last week when we were looking at data entry, creating our first database. So I'm just going to leave all the defaults. None of this is GEDCOM specific. Okay, and then it's asking me, do I want to add a source to tell where the information in this GEDCOM came from? Question we've been asked in almost all the other programs. I'm going to say no, I really don't care. Okay, now it imported. Let me see what statistics it's offering me. And did it show me something on the other page? I saw real quick that it imported 3170 instead of 3173. However, when I looked at this yesterday, is it stats? Properties, I think. He puts it in properties. Yeah, it is 3173. It's just that it went by so fast, you may not have even displayed that. So this is what we want. 886 families, 8,307 events, a bunch of other things. 663 sources. Again, 4 missing. Oddly, the same number as Legacy dropped. So maybe they weren't dropped, but merged. It records 15K citations, almost exactly the same numbers as Legacy 9, the first program that we looked at. Let me, just for consistency's sake, let's look how it handled that military field. And yeah, it knew to map underscore MILT as military. And it's very possible that that underscore MILT came from RootsMagic originally. I don't remember. But yeah, it has a miscellaneous field. That's interesting. I wonder what it mapped that from. But okay. Now, one of the programs, this one I thought had a log file of things that it could not handle. But it did not pop up and give me that option. And I'm not seeing any logs. So really it's just you're relying on the properties. So again, I wish I'd get a status log for all those imports, but did not. So let me back up for a few minutes, take a deep breath, go back to my banter camera. Sooner or later, if you're looking at any kind of applications, you're going to have to deal with a GEDCOM file. As I mentioned in the short video presentation, the GEDCOM became a de facto standard because the LDS Church required records that were submitted by their members to be in that format if they were submitting computer-generated digital files. So it behooved all of the tree building programs to support that if they wanted LDS members to buy their program. One of the reasons it's so hard to get consensus on a new GEDCOM file format is, in general, without requirements from a large organization like the LDS Church to have data presented in a particular format, without that mandate from some authority, there's no incentive for program A to be able to export a file that you're going to import into their competition. There is every incentive for program B to be able to import program A's data, but there's no incentive for it to allow you to import programs A's data into their program because they don't want you to leave. They want tied to the program. Now, we could talk more general about that. There are incentives because people do a lot of sharing. I know a lot of people who use RootsMagic and Family Tree Maker and Legacy because they have different reports. And speaking of reports, that is something that we will look at, the reporting features in various tree building programs. Let me offer here, we've got, we're at our time. So if you have any questions, you can leave comments on the Facebook page. You can use the contact list on the website, genealogyshowcase.tech. Next week, we're going to be looking, I'm going to break away from the roundup approach, and we're going to look at a single program. We're going to be looking at a program called GenSmarts, a research tool that will help you identify the records that you don't have that you might want to be sure you include. It's an older program, but it still has a lot of value. So we'll be looking at that next week. I got a question from Robin. I'm assuming you will not be broadcasting next Thursday. Is that correct? That's a good point. I think I will be broadcasting next Thursday. We're in a special situation right now. I'm not able to go anywhere because of quarantine, and some of our audience is not in the U.S. and we're special times, quarantine for COVID. So I understand if you're not able to attend, and we will record it as usual. But no, I'll go ahead and we'll have a show next week. Get some more content out there on our YouTube channel. So thank you all for attending. Thank you for your great questions. Hey, I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I hope you are too. And be sure to leave me some comments in the Facebook group or on YouTube or on the website.